Ace Frehley's one rule that silenced Eddie Van Halen. By 1979, Eddie Van Halen was untouchable. He was a guitar god who had completely rewritten the rules with blinding speed and earth-shattering innovation. Musicians everywhere weren't just impressed, they were terrified. So how is it possible that in a legendary backstage showdown, this technical genius was left completely speechless? What could possibly silence the man who made the guitar scream? The answer wasn't a faster player or a wilder technique. It was Ace Frehley, the spaceman from Kiss, and one simple, unwritten rule of rock and roll that proved feel isn't just part of the game, it's the whole damn game. To truly understand why this moment was so monumental, you have to transport yourself back to the late 1970s. The rock scene wasn't just a collection of bands, it was a battlefield of giants. And on one side, you had the undisputed kings of the spectacle, Kiss. They were a living, breathing comic book, spitting fire and blood while delivering stadium-leveling anthems. Their mysterious lead guitarist was the spaceman, Ace Frehley. But behind that silver paint and sci-fi costume was a player defined by raw swagger, singable solos, and a gut-level feel that was the secret sauce in Kiss's biggest hits. He wasn't about perfection, he was all about attitude. But then, in early 1978, a sonic boom ripped through the music world, and that boom was the band Van Halen. Their debut album didn't just make waves, it was a tsunami that changed everything. And at the center of that storm was Eddie Van Halen. Armed with his iconic Frankenstrat guitar and a huge grin, Eddie did things nobody had ever heard before. He made the guitar scream and dive with a ferocious energy matched only by his blistering speed. And then there was Eruption, a 1-minute, 42-second solo that became the new Bible for guitar players everywhere. It was a masterpiece of two-handed tapping, a technique he had polished into an art form that changed the game overnight. Suddenly, every guitarist was being judged by a new, impossibly high standard. Could you even play like Eddie? As giants often do, these two guitarists began crossing paths, most famously at the legendary rock and roll watering holes on the Sunset Strip. You could always feel a bit of tension in the air, the kind you'd expect when two of the biggest guitar heroes on the planet are in the same room. But their most legendary encounter was yet to come. Picture this. It's August 1979, and the air backstage at the Oakland Coliseum is still crackling with energy from the massive Kiss show that just ended. Ace Frehley is in his dressing room, still buzzing, when the door swings open. In walks Eddie Van Halen, riding high from his own band's explosive success. With a bit of that rock star swagger, Eddie looks at Ace, the guy still in his elaborate makeup and stage costume, and throws down a friendly but undeniably pointed challenge. According to the legend, he asked something to the effect of, "You're good at what you do, but could you handle Van Halen's material? Be honest." Now, you have to understand, this was more than just a casual question. It was a test. In the guitar world, Eddie's playing was considered Mount Everest. His solos, especially Eruption, were seen as complex compositions only he could truly conquer. The implication was crystal clear. Can you, the guy who shoots rockets from his guitar, really hang with the new king of technical wizardry? But Ace, being the cool, unflappable character he's always been, didn't even blink. He didn't get defensive. He just looked back at Eddie and, as the story goes, fired back, "I don't know. Can I borrow your guitar and find out?" Imagine the silence in that room. Eddie handed over his iconic, black and white taped Frankenstrat, the very instrument that had redefined rock music. This wasn't just any guitar, it was a custom-built machine, an extension of Eddie's own soul. So, Ace takes the guitar. The room is quiet. To answer the challenge, he knew he had to aim for the very top. He reportedly asked, "How about Eruption?" And then he launched into it. But he didn't just play it, he nailed it. According to the legend, he recreated Eddie's masterpiece of taps, hammer-ons, and dive bombs, note for perfect note. But he didn't stop there. He started weaving in his own style, his own licks, putting that classic Frehley swagger on top of Eddie's composition. The reaction was immediate and absolute. Eddie Van Halen, the man who had just laid down the gauntlet, stood there utterly stunned. Reports from that night say his jaw was on the floor. In that instant, the contest was over. The brash challenge had dissolved into pure, unfiltered admiration. Eddie saw past the spaceman, past the spectacle, and recognized the raw, underestimated talent of a master guitarist. With one move, Ace Frehley had silenced a guitar god. This showdown was never about who was better, it was about something much deeper. Ace revealed the unwritten rule of the true rock and roll gunslinger. Mastery isn't just knowing the notes, it's having the feel and the confidence to make any instrument your own, right on the spot. He proved that soul could not only stand up to technique, but command its absolute respect. But wait, that legendary night in Oakland also brings up one of rock's most persistent arguments. Who really invented tapping? While Eddie Van Halen is the one who perfected two-handed tapping and blasted it into the mainstream with Eruption in 1978, the technique's history is a lot murkier. And believe it or not, Ace Frehley is a key part of that conversation. You see, Frehley has mentioned that he was using his own version of tapping years before Van Halen's first album ever dropped. As early as the mid-70s, during Kiss's Hotter Than Hell tour, Ace was incorporating a pick-based tapping style into his solos. He would use the edge of his pick to rapidly tap on the fretboard for a machine gun-like sound, a totally different method from Eddie's more fluid, two-handed fingerstyle. Ace even suggested that Eddie, whose band was famously discovered by Gene Simmons, had been paying very close attention from the front row. The story isn't so simple, though. Music history is rarely about outright theft. It's about evolution. Eddie himself gave credit to other pioneers for his inspiration, famously pointing to seeing Led Zeppelin's Jimmy Page do a series of rapid pull-offs during a Heartbreaker solo in 1971 as the moment a light bulb went off. He also mentioned getting ideas from innovators like Genesis guitarist Steve Hackett and Canned Heat's Harvey Mandel. So, what's the real story? It's most likely a case of parallel innovation, with several brilliant guitarists all stumbling upon similar ideas around the same time. Ace was using his pick tapping live for years, while a young Eddie was in his garage, turning a raw concept into a revolutionary technique that would change the world. The story isn't about who stole what, it's about how different artists can take a similar idea and, with their own unique feel, forge it into something completely their own. This story is a powerful reminder that there's always more to the legends than we think, and the lines between influence and innovation are endlessly fascinating. And speaking of inspiration, if you're enjoying this deep dive, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. It's the best way to support the channel and ensure you don't miss our next journey into rock and roll history. Now, let's get back to the unexpected friendship between these two legends. What so easily could have spiraled into a bitter rivalry instead blossomed into a genuine, lasting friendship. That night in Oakland was the turning point. It didn't create a winner and a loser, it erased the tension and forged a bond built on pure, mutual respect. They were no longer just two guitar players from competing bands. They were peers who understood each other on a deep musical level. In many ways, their styles were polar opposites. Ace was the blues-drenched melodic player whose solos you could actually hum, all about the soulful bend and the perfect, memorable lick. Eddie was the technical phenom, the shredder who relentlessly pushed the physical boundaries of what a guitar could even do. But they recognized the brilliance in each other's playing. Frehley himself acknowledged this, saying in a 2024 interview, "I was good friends with Eddie Van Halen, but knew I could never play like that. Having a lot of melodic sense was important." It was a humble admission that honored Eddie's incredible speed while showing total confidence in his own strengths, feel, and melody. Over the years, their friendship continued, a testament to the fact that greatness recognizes greatness, no matter the style or the stage costume. It was a bond that went beyond the makeup, the pyrotechnics, and the album sales. It was always about the music. When Eddie Van Halen tragically passed away in 2020, the loss was felt across the entire music world. Ace Frehley paid a public tribute, calling him a friend and a great and innovative guitarist. In a touching gesture, Frehley's solo band even started playing Van Halen songs like "Somebody Get Me a Doctor" and "Dance the Night Away" during their sound checks to honor his friend's memory on the anniversary of his death. Their story began with a backstage challenge, but it ended with a brotherhood built on respect. A story of two legends who started as perceived rivals and ended as friends. So, what is the one rule that Ace Frehley used to silence Eddie Van Halen? It's not something you can learn from a music theory book or a YouTube tutorial. It's the unwritten law of rock and roll. Feel is the ultimate equalizer. In a world that often gets obsessed with speed and technical perfection, the story of that night in Oakland is a powerful reminder that true musicality, confidence, and soul can stand toe-to-toe with even the most mind-blowing technical skill. Ace Frehley's flawless performance of Eruption wasn't just a party trick, it was a profound statement. It pulled back the curtain on the Kiss spectacle and revealed the world-class musician hiding behind the makeup. It earned him the unwavering respect of the one guitarist everyone else was desperately trying to be, and it transformed a potential rival into a lifelong friend. The moment left Eddie Van Halen speechless, not because he was beaten, but because he was blindsided by a depth of talent he never saw coming, wrapped in a package he couldn't have predicted. The legend of Ace and Eddie is more than just a cool backstage anecdote. It's a lesson for every musician and fan out there. It's about looking past the image, beyond the hype, and listening for the heart of the music. It's a reminder that while technique can impress your mind, it's the feel that captures your soul. But now I want to hear from you. What do you think is more important in a guitarist? Mind-blowing technical skill or raw melodic feel? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments and tell me your favorite Ace Frehley or Eddie Van Halen solo. Thanks for watching.